sedative. And so you have, we call it allergotoxic encephalopathy. In the States, USA, they carried out the following in jails. For 3 months, all the meals were without wheat and gluten. And there was a significant reduce of criminality in the jails. And milk proteins, they don't, or very small amount, they don't pass the blood-brain barrier. But of wheat and partially of rice, they pass the blood-brain barrier. That is the problem. And the problem is that the gluten is similar to some very, very basic compound in our brain. That is, you cannot overestimate wheat and wheat. And not milk. Forget the milk. The milk has other impacts. Do you know, or is it a discussion here in Asia about anti-genetic food? No? And wheat and milk, they are the anti-genetic food par excellence. What does it mean? What do you think, anti-genetic food? We never spoke about it. You must come every year to Germany, to Rostock. Okay. Perhaps the ticket is cheaper when you buy it in advance for 10 years. He's a champion too, and Shirley too. Yes. And how long does mankind exist in our form, in our shape, genetically? How long? How many years? Our gene status, how long does it exist of mankind?
More than a million years. Historian recorded
more than a million, yes. And our Earth, our life, when does life develop on Earth? That's very, very interesting. Now, we didn't speak about it. No? Yes, we did. 4 billion years. And our genetic shape exists 2 million years ago. 2 million years, and we know that there is no modification of our gene shape since 200,000 years. No development. But mankind started at 2 million years ago. And when did we start to eat wheat or rice?
No.
Yes. 10,000 years ago in Asia, or not in West Asia, and in the today's Iraq, Mesopotamia, and 10,000 years ago only, 2 million, that is 1%. And that is a wheat or cereal must be anti-genetic, because we didn't know. In our genes, the gene didn't know wheat. For 99% of the development. And therefore, every time you eat cereals and bread and so on, it is anti-genetic. It's against your nature. Yes. And what did they eat? Mankind. And milk we have only 8,000 years. It is also anti-genetic. And therefore you have all the civilizatory disorders. Since mankind settled in towns and so on, and settled, and then they started to grow the cereals, and that was grass, sweet grasses, and then our suffering started. And avoid milk and avoid cereals, and then you are very healthy. It is difficult. And therefore, because it is anti-genetic, we have so many problems. Here, about 90% of our nourishment is bread and milk products, or not 90, but at every corner there is a bakery, and you can eat here the rolls and so on, sandwiches and so on.
So you mean maybe rice is better than wheat? Rice.
Rice. Yes, rice is not so. The protein of the rice is it's not equal to the. It's not the same as in wheat. Wheat is worse. Wheat is worse than rice, but nevertheless, they are similar. They have the same origin. They have wheat and rice. They're all grass and sweet grasses. Yes. Yeah, here. For example, I can tell you examples. Incontinence. Here. Incontinence. Not give them not pills and so on, and start with testing the allergies. Incontinence, widespread, and you see, all the organ systems, they are affected by any kind of allergy. So, and that is a matter of course, but that is the reason which is not respected, treating the allergies and foodstuff allergies. Allergen exposition, that's clear. And then here, mucous membrane permeability, that's a large problem, and the immune disturbances, and that is allergy. These three pillars you must regard, and we didn't regard it. We didn't regard it in the way which was necessary. The three necessary foundation of allergy. No long-lasting successes of allergy therapy without regarding all three pillars. But everybody will agree, I think. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that. Yes, and now some general about foodstuff. Yes, we have not the time, I think, to discuss all that here. Yeah, only here. Emotions. Emotions, they do not start here in the brain. They start here. And everybody, is it known in Asia too, that we say we have butterflies in our stomach? Yes, it is known. Yes, butterfly. Yes, all what it is here, happiness, sadness, hatred, and so on. And first they start here in the intestine, not in the brain. That is secondary here. Oh, I have, and after that you feel the butterflies, and after that you have it in your brain. That is, and then you differentiate. That is aggression, that is hate, that is rage, and so on. After the feeling, you have only a non-defined feeling, but you have a feeling, and only our brain in the second step they will state what it is, rage or aggressiveness, and so on. Yes. And so on, and when there is, yes, perhaps we should mention it. No? We have, no? And these butterflies we call enteric nerve system. Enteric, keep that in mind, ENS, the enteric nerve system. And interesting is that 10 times of nerve cells are in here in the stomach, in the gut, 10 times than in the brain. And the main neurotransmitter or hormone in the stomach is what?
Serotonin.
Huh?
Serotonin.
Serotonin. Yes, that's it. Serotonin, it's a hormone of happiness, no? Of balancing and the mood and so on and so on. But it is, in the greater part, it is here in the bowel. That it is here. And they are not the same. We call it serotonin alpha is serotonin beta, but the difference is very small between the two, serotonin of the brain and...
Excuse me, Dr. Cornelissen. I make some remark. 他刚才讲的，各位看那个书哈，这个今天带来这本书哈，它里面就特别讲到说，他说这个 guts 的这个地方的 serotonin 的产生呢是95%的 serotonin 是在这个肠道产生的。所以各位如果有看到这本书里面的内容的部分呢，等一下我再有机会跟大家讲一下哪一页。Okay, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes. And 100 million nerve cells, 90% lead to the brain from here to here, and only 10% from here to here. Yes, that's clear. In our evolution, we had here the feeling, and the brain developed later. And therefore, here, this way must be the principle, the main way from here to here. Every dog knows when the owner, the master, is angry and so on. The dog feels it at once. And that's not in the brain, but here in the bowel.
107页了，各位看到哈，那本书107页的那一页上就写得很清楚，有关于这个 intestine 跟 neurotransmitter 的部分。
And now the last investigation, last research, they tell us exactly how it works from here to here, and these are the so-called glia cells in the brain, and they are responsible for all these processes, but it is not necessary to keep that all in mind. Here, physiologic lactobifidus fuso, MS, Campylobacter, pollen, individual pulses, peanut, gluten, examples. Yes, and that is a problem too. You know the proton inhibitors, the H2 inhibitors to reduce the acid of the stomach. How do you call it? PPIs, no? Anti-acidics, you know. Everybody understands. Yes, but in most cases, that is not the problem of over-acidity, but of under-acidity, the reflux. They don't prescribe the anti-acids, don't prescribe. In most cases, there is not an over-acidity, but an under-acidity, a hypoacidity. And there was only some weeks ago, there was in Berlin, there was a great congress, not of complementary doctors, conventional medicine, and they agreed that 60% of the PPIs, they are not prescribed in the correct way, not in the correct way. And you know, we need a law that was ideal pH here. It's you was really good. And against, as you said, against bacteria, but that is nowadays not the main point. But the crackdown of the proteins is reduced because for the activation of pepsin you need a low pH. And why is it so decisive? Calcium we mentioned, B12 we mentioned iron, but no. Concerning the allergies, that is not the main point. The main point is that the proteins will not be cracked down in in a necessary way. So greater proteins, they will go into the bowel, in the intestines, and then not crack down proteins, and then they will, when there is a leaky gut that is combined, then will go through the mucous membranes to the mast cells, and the mast cells, what do? They deliver histamine. That's the way. Therefore, you must, for our issue, you need the low pH to crack down, or the beginning of the crackdown, and yes, and therefore it is always the way to allergies. And when there is a patient with allergies comes to visit us, first question, do you take here the PPIs? Yes, and then the other point is, but it's not the issue of this seminar, was when you have a low, not the low pH, which is necessary for the stomach, then you have not a high pH of the duodenum, of the pancreas. That is the opposite. Low acidity in the stomach, high pH of the pancreas. Because the pancreas enzymes, they can only work in high alkaline range. And then when you have not the the high pH of the enzyme, they cannot work, they cannot crack down, and so you have the same effect. That is, and therefore that is the main point. The most important point is for the low pH of the stomach, that you have a high pH in the pancreas. And I think last seminar I showed you how it works exactly in a chemical way. We can prove it. It is rather simple. Yes, allergy, for rotation diet, and Helicobacter, the gastric devil, yes. And here in here in Asia it is more common than in Europe, but in India the elderly 100 will not have the Helicobacter. That's the Helicobacter, and yes, and here today we connect this with Parkinson. It is not the origin of Parkinson, but it can trigger Parkinson. Autoimmune thyroiditis. Oh, patient comes to you, oh, I'm suffering from Hashimoto. So, you know, at first, selenium and so on, and when it's a woman, progesterone and estrogen and so on. But here, autoimmune, Hashimoto, is with Helicobacter morphine to measure it. Without swallowing and so on. A tube. Yes. Helicobacter, you know, here it is not, it is not regarded in a necessary way that the vessels are affected by Helicobacter, not only the joints we know, Now here, reactive arthritis can be the Helicobacter, but here, regards the vessels. They are not regarded. Parasites and so on, pathogen here you see, pathogen which can reside is here, Yersinia, Campylobacter, that is Helicobacter, Salmonella, E. coli, Candida albicans here, Yersinia, thyroid again, Yersinia, it is in the test kit, and nutrition, food, aluminium, fructose, flavors, aggressiveness, fructose. Why is fructose so interesting? Why fructose, especially fructose? Why? Fructose. Is it bad or good, fructose?
Bad.
Bad, very bad.
Very bad.
When there comes a cancer patient, before first recommendation of food is to avoid fruits. Fruits.
Any kind of fruit?
That is anti-genetic too. In 100,000 years ago, there were no apples and so on. No. Yes, they can. We recommend only one apple, or like that, one apple a day and one banana. Not more, because cancer patients think it is a good thing to eat fruits. No. Fruits are what, you can my sentence, fruits are sweets without fat. Fruits are sweets without fat, yes? You understand what I'm going here? And therefore, sweets, fruit are sweets. And yes, and cancer, yes. Why is sugar so bad? Why is sugar so bad with cancer? We will not stick always to here our main issue, because we go here and go there, that we have, also, glucose can, it depends. Why are foods so, because of the sugar, yes?
Glucose.
Yeah, why glucose?
It's a tumor food.
Tumor, yes. It's tumor food, but why we will discuss tomorrow. We will discuss, and why is the fructose fructose is worse than sugar. What are the components of sugar, of the normal sugar? It is a compound.
Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
No, what is that? Exists of two components. Sugar, the normal sugar, of of glucose and fructose. That is the compound sugar of glucose and fructose. Perhaps you keep it in mind. Yes, and and then why is fructose? I mentioned it before. Why is fructose so bad?
Acidity?
I would